Welcome to the Digital Learning Edge, your go-to podcast for insights, trends, and strategies in digital learning and development, from mastering learning management systems to driving growth through innovation. We're here to empower educators, trainers, and leaders to elevate their learning experiences. Let's unlock the future of learning together.
All right, so buckle up, everyone, for a deep dive into the world of e-learning. Specifically, we're heading over to India.
India.
That's right. This is going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
And to guide us, we've got this super insightful article by Ravi Shankar Das. He's a real expert in the e-learning scene over there.
Oh, yeah. He's been doing this for a long time. He knows his stuff.
So we all know India's e-learning market is exploding right now.
It is. Huge growth.
But as we're about to find out, it's not exactly a walk in the park for the people actually making those courses happen.
No, not at all.
Today we're going beyond the hype and getting into the nitty-gritty of what it's really like to be an e-learning developer in India.
Let's dive in.
All right, so one of the first things that jumps out from the article is the financial side of things.
Right off the bat.
It sounds like a lot of these developers are dealing with some serious budget constraints.
Oh, yeah. Tight budgets and crazy deadlines. That's the reality.
Like, imagine trying to create this amazing interactive course with basically no money, and you're being rushed to get it done.
I mean, talk about pressure.
Yeah, how do they even deal with that?
Well, from what Ravi Shankar Das says, a lot of it comes down to being incredibly resourceful.
Resourceful.
Yeah. Finding creative workarounds, really stretching those rupees.
I bet.
But the article also makes it clear that this kind of pressure can take its toll.
In what way?
Burnout. Straight up.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're constantly racing against the clock and the budget.
You never really get a break, and it just wears you down.
We hear about burnout all the time in tech.
It's a huge problem.
I wonder if it's even worse in a place like India, where the market is growing so fast.
It's probably amplified, yeah. The article actually touches on that.
Does it?
It talks about how this financial pressure, on top of having to constantly learn new tech.
Because the technology is always changing.
Oh, absolutely. And it's changing fast. It makes it super hard for companies to actually hold on to talented developers.
It's like a constant treadmill, right? You're running and running, but never really getting ahead.
A perfect analogy.
And then, on top of all that, there's the whole issue of tech infrastructure.
Oh, right.
Which, in India, can be pretty uneven, right?
Yeah, you got some areas with blazing fast internet.
And then others where...
And then others where it's like going back to dial-up.
Ugh, I can't even imagine.
It's tough for developers.
Yeah, I mean, you could be the most brilliant instructional designer in the world.
You could have all the best ideas.
But if your learners are sitting there with spotty internet or an ancient computer...
It's going to affect how they experience the course.
Totally. It's like trying to bake a cake in a broken oven. It's just not going to work out right.
That's a good one. It limits creativity for sure.
Oh, for sure. And then you layer on top of all that the incredible diversity of India.
That's right. So many languages.
Cultures, regional differences. I mean, the article really emphasizes that, right?
Oh, yeah. Ravi Shankar Das says it's a huge factor in e-learning development.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you design a course that works for everyone?
It's a huge challenge. You have to think about the cultural nuances.
The different learning styles.
Even the kind of humor that will land in different regions.
Oh, I hadn't even considered the humor aspect. That's interesting.
Yeah, a joke that works in Mumbai might fall completely flat in, say, Chennai.
Wow. So it's not just about translating the words?
It's about understanding the people.
And adapting to their needs and expectations.
Exactly. It's a lot deeper than just swapping out the language.
It's like e-learning localization on steroids.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
So we've got financial pressure, the tech hurdles, the cultural and linguistic diversity, and the article mentions even more challenges, right?
There's a whole bunch.
Like what?
Well, there's managing client expectations.
Clients can be tough.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when they don't really grasp the complexities of e-learning development.
Like they might have these grand visions, but no concept of what it actually takes to make them happen.
Exactly. And then you've got the issue of creative freedom, or sometimes lack thereof.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
You get stuck with rigid brand guidelines or clients who just want everything to look like a boring PowerPoint presentation.
It's like being an artist, but you're only allowed to use beige paint.
It can be soul-crushing, that's for sure.
So no creative freedom. And then are there any regulations they have to worry about?
Oh, yeah. Depending on the industry, there can be a ton of regulations to navigate.
I hadn't thought about that.
especially in fields like healthcare or finance.
Where compliance is key.
It adds another layer of complexity to the whole process.
Wow, so we've got regulations, demanding clients, limited creative freedom, and then there's the competition, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
India's got these global e-learning giants already operating there.
Your big players.
So local developers are up against some serious competition.
They got to fight for every client.
It's like opening a mom and pop shop right next to a Walmart supercenter.
You really got to have a unique selling point to stand out.
I see what you mean. And then, to top it all off, there's a whole issue of proving the value of e-learning.
ROI, the return on investment.
Right. Some organizations in India are still a bit hesitant about online learning.
They're clinging to those traditional methods.
So developers have to constantly demonstrate that their work is actually effective.
That it's worth the investment.
It's like they have to constantly justify their existence.
In a way, yeah.
It's a tough landscape, for sure.
It is, but it's also exciting.
How so?
Well, think about it. These developers are facing all these challenges, but they're still finding ways to innovate.
To create amazing learning experience.
They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible in e-learning.
And they're doing it in a context that's incredibly complex and constantly changing.
That's resilience, man.
That's impressive. I'm just thinking, what are some things these developers can do to not just survive, but actually thrive in this environment?
Well, based on what Ravi Shankar Das is saying, one key thing is continuous innovation.
Got to keep learning, keep growing.
They need to be on the cutting edge of technology, design, everything.
Stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And they also need to be really good communicators.
That makes sense.
Building strong relationships with clients,
Right.
managing expectations, showcasing their expertise.
So it's not enough to just be technically skilled.
No, you got to be a people person too.
Makes you wonder, are there any lessons here that could apply to e-learning development in other parts of the world?
Oh, I think so. A lot of these challenges are universal, right?
Like budget constraints, tight deadlines, the need to constantly adapt to new technology.
Those are global issues.
So maybe what's happening in India can offer some insights for developers everywhere.
It's definitely something to think about.
Sure. And what about this idea of cultural resistance to e-learning that the article talks about?
Oh, yeah. That's a fascinating point.
It's interesting that even in a tech-savvy country like India, there are still some workplaces that prefer traditional learning methods.
It shows that e-learning isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
You can't just assume it'll be automatically embraced everywhere.
No, you have to understand the specific context, the cultural norms.
And tailor your approach accordingly.
Right. It's about meeting people where they are.
So it sounds like e-learning development in India is as much about cultural sensitivity and adaptability as it is about technical expertise.
Absolutely. It's a combination of skills.
Really makes you think. Could these same challenges be popping up in other parts of the world?
Even in places with better tech infrastructure.
And if so, what can we learn from how Indian developers are tackling these issues?
That's a question worth pondering.
Absolutely. Something for all of us to consider as we continue to explore the world of e-learning. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, keep those brains engaged.
Keep learning.
See ya.
Bye.